Hello and welcome back to the top 4 match in the regional championship, live from Braunschweig. We have two players. It's actually
Matthias Sukudolski against Ying from Austria, who made the travel here and both made it deeply into this tournament and are now in the top 4. For both of them, their day 2 invitation. No, actually, we do have Michael Richard against Ying. And both of those players, however, have made it deep into this tournament, and they are in the range of that very, very valued day 2 invitation to the Pokemon World Championship. Both of them probably just need to win this last match to just seal it up and make sure that nothing can go wrong there. And here we see Ying's team on screen. That consists of Smeargle, Xerneas, Salamence, Groudon, Cresselia, and the last one is a Bronzong. So interesting combination there, Cresselia as well as Bronzong on the same team. Not something that is too common.
Yeah, so he chooses for 2 Trick Room setters instead of just for 1. And he has the Gravity combination with his Bronzong. And there we see the leads. We have Salamence and Thundurus from Michael Rickert on the bottom. And on top we have Ying with Cresselia and Salamence.
Yeah, already liking this position for Ying here. Cresselia puts on a lot of pressure depending on what type of speed control he decides to run. There's the potential of, say, Icy Wind, but also Ice Beam. So yeah, even Cresselia is more known to be more of a supportive-orientated Pokemon. It can do some serious damage here, hitting those flying types with the Ice type attacks.
Exactly, and we are just about to go into turn 1, and this is probably a pretty important turn 1 because Thundurus can spread T-waves just for the speed control.
Yes, Thunder Wave, certainly important, but looking at Ying's team, I wouldn't be too surprised if we did see that Trick Room on his Cresselia as well as on his Bronzong. So he could negate that and make it so that his Pokemon get even faster thanks to that Thunder Wave. But for the time being, both players seemingly decide to just protect their Salamence and see what the support Pokemon will do here. And we do see the Thunder Wave coming out, correctly anticipating the Protect coming out from Ying's Salamence. Mikael decided to target down that Cresselia. Let's see if there's a Lumberry. Nope, no Lumberry, but Icy Wind as the preferred type of speed control coming out for Ying here.
So there's an interesting choice in playing Icy Wind and probably Trick Room too. So he goes for the Icy Wind in turn 1. Both Salamence protected, so at this point we still have a speed tie in both Salamences.
Potentially, yeah. It's interesting to note that neither of the players opted to go for the Mega Evolution here, so they can keep that Intimidate ability that is, of course, useful upon switching in later on. So, against both Thundurus and Cresselia, both players wanted to keep the option to just switch out the Salamence and then have it come back in later on, and that's exactly what we're seeing from Ying here.
So Ying brings in his own Xerneas, and talking about Michael's team, he's running a dual Primal team. So he has no Xerneas, he has Kyogre and Groudon, and probably both in back.
Yeah, potentially. Cresselia might also make an appearance here on this team to potentially reverse a Trick Room depending on what he decided to play here. But big Thunder Wave coming out here on the Xerneas. But if Ying decided to go for the Trick Room, then that could backfire a little bit.
And we see the Hyper Voice from Salamence doing pretty decent damage.
And there is that Trick Room. Nice play here on Ying's end now. Despite the fact that Michael was able to spread the Thunder Waves to both the Cresselia as well as the Xerneas, now, thanks to the Trick Room, Xerneas will be free to launch a Fairy-type attack towards that Salamence, and Michael is probably not as happy with how that turn played out.
Exactly, but Michael has still the possibility to fully paralyze one of his mons, so he can get a huge advantage from this with probably huge damage with Double Edge.
Yeah, sure, he could try and play his odds here, but looking at what Ying might have in the back, that Groudon, I feel like Salamence is probably a key ingredient in his plan to do something against that Groudon. And Michael also thinks that keeping Salamence alive is probably worth, and he switches back into his Groudon, which of course after the Primal Reversion does have that Fire type and thus is resistant to Fairy type attacks, and potentially a Fairy type attack coming out here from the Xerneas. It would be interesting though if he went for the Geomancy, because then we're in Trick Room, he boosted his speed and he's also paralyzed.
Yeah, and Groudon usually runs mid speed, so something to...
But the Helping Hand coming out here and the Dazzling Gleam.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see how much damage that is going to do here. does not pick up the KO on Thunderous that procs the Citrus Berry. Sorry. So what were you saying about Groudon speed?
I was talking about Groudon's potential speed in this case. So obviously, being paralyzed, Xerneas and Cresselia will be slower in Trick Room, so moving first. But Groudon's speed could be pretty important, bringing back his own Groudon.
Yes. Yeah, looking at Ying's team, it looks like with that Smeargle that he has, it looks like a pretty dedicated Trick Room setup. So his Groudon potentially might be slower, rather than Michael, who's running his Cresselia, that could also have Icy Wind. We do see the Thunder Wave on his team, but also a potential Trick Room. So yeah, as you said, on those teams, Groudon most of the time do not opt to go for absolutely minimum speed, but try to level it out a little bit. And yeah, it's also important in the best of 3 set in the first game just to see how fast your Pokemon are, how the speed tiers interact with each other. And we might see some more of that the next turn, since Ying decided to switch on his own Groudon right now.
Yeah, so both players can benefit from best of 3 games, so they can scout for information game 1, and then use these informations to pull out a better game in game 2 or 3.
Yeah, but we do see the skill swap. Okay, so nice play here by Ying. Decides to switch in his Groudon, and now also skill swap being revealed as a move on that Cresselia. A lot of supporting tools, and another Thunderbolt, this time a critical hit, but once again that doesn't really do too much damage. Michael went for the Precipice Blades and will hit the Cresselia. However, the Groudon of Ying is now pretty much untouchable for Michael.
Yeah, for both mons, so he can't touch it with his Groudon, neither with his Thunderous. So I expect the switch from either of those mons just to touch this Groudon. But Michael will probably have problems to touch his Groudon, so you will probably need his own Xerneas, his own Cresselia, excuse me, just to set up Gravity.
Yeah, if he even brought it. Also, the Kyogre would of course be able to do something about that Groudon. Yeah, of course, interesting seeing what Michael brought here in the back. Also, would be good knowledge for Ying to figure that out, since of course their game plans going into games 3 and potentially 3 could change up things a little bit with that information. But yeah, now I think Michael's main objective might be to just try and stall out Trick Room for as long as possible, and then potentially send out his own Kyogre and try to win with that.
Exactly. We could also see a HP Water. So, but not changing to Kyogre is probably not the case in this turn. So we see a skill swap.
Yeah, very interesting play. Now, if Cresselia makes it through this turn, Ying would have the chance to go for another skill swap on his Groudon to reset the weather. However, Michael did not switch into his Kyogre, and it looks like Cresselia will go down. At least Ying was still able to take that Prankster ability off of the Thunderous, and now Eruption is coming out here. So yeah, he kind of made sure that no matter what will happen, he will at least get off a lot of damage. And yeah, Cresselia goes down in the process, but I do think that Ying, with his Groudon being that healthy and him still having the Xerneas in the back, might have what it takes to put himself into position to take the game. But then again, if Michael has that Kyogre in the back, then he's probably the one that should dictate how this battle goes.
Yeah, and the most exciting part of Groudon is probably that most players adapted to play it mixed, but then still mixed can be different with Eruption, Earth Power, and P-Blades.
Yes, and there is that Kyogre coming out.
Exactly, or probably P-Blades, Fire Punch, and Eruption, which is the case in Ying's team.
Yes, or Earth Power. Yeah, it all really comes down to whether you want your Groudon to be more focusing on your attack stat or on the special attack stat. Both Eruption and Precipice Blades have things going for them. But yeah, in this specific case, I think having a powerful Precipice Blades would help Ying. But yeah, we will see if he's able to manage to maneuver himself out of this position, since now Kyogre of Michael is pretty much free to just go for a water type attack, and Ying potentially needs to try and get his Groudon out and back in again safely. But it looks like Michael now has him pinned down in a situation where he's able to take some KOs.
Yeah, and as we can see, it takes his time to think about this turn, because it's a pretty important and pretty big turn for both players.
Yes, also a pretty important match, of course, as we mentioned before.
So both players are currently at about 900 CP, just slightly above 900 CP. And just to be sure, they want to win this match, because that will so the winner will be at a point where he can't be put out of top 16.
He can't be surpassed anymore, even after Italian nationals that are coming up in 2 weeks of time. So we do see Salamence making an appearance here, and Dazzling Gleam coming out here from Ying's Xerneas. And there is the Origin Pulse. So yeah, that should be the last turn of Trick Room, and after that, yeah, Michael, after taking this KO here on Xerneas, despite having the weather disadvantage for now, can then switch back his Kyogre and then bring it back out again. But Ying still does have that Salamence, so depending on how the next 2 turns go, there's still a chance for Ying to take this game.
So yeah, but Ying is back to his last 2 Pokemon. So Michael can opt to switch out his Kyogre to bring back...
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, bring back the weather. And so Michael's Salamence is Mega Evolved, so it's faster than Ying's. And Ying have to protect probably in this turn.
Yes, he could go for a Mega Evolution and protect his Salamence to get that speed boost, and also go for potential Eruption. Depending on how that Salamence is trained, that might be enough, even after the Hyper Voice damage. But yeah, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, as Michael actually decided to let his Kyogre stay in here despite the sun being up. We do see that Protect coming out from Ying. And yeah, I would expect an Ice Beam now from this Kyogre, since of course it can't really do much with its Water type attacks. There is the Hyper Voice coming out. And let's see who's faster between the two with a critical hit, and Icy Wind actually coming out from the Kyogre.
Icy
Wow.
Wind. Great.
Yeah, nice. Do you like Icy Wind on Kyogre?
So Kyogre can still only Icy Wind next turn.
Yes.
Because he has no weather advantage. I would probably switch it out to spam Origin Pulse or Water Spout. And Salamence is faster anyway than his Groudon.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure what Michael could make out of this turn.
Yeah, I think right now, if Michael wins the speed tie between the Salamence here, then he definitely wins the game. But even if he loses it, since his Kyogre is now definitely faster than his opponent's Groudon after that speed drop especially, as long as he's able to hit his Icy Winds, yeah, he should still take this game. But Michael's Salamence moves first, Hyper Voice comes out, gets the double knockout, and yeah, Michael wins the first game.
Yeah. And I'm really happy that he can prove himself in this regional after he won a national this year.
Yes.
So I'm really excited for game 2.
Yeah, certainly. Now looking at the teams again and how this first match unfolded, yeah, Michael was just able to spread those Thunder Waves, and even though Ying was able to set up the Trick Room and reverse the speed control that his opponent was able to put on him, yeah, the Xerneas wasn't really able to do too much damage, of course. We mentioned it thanks to the Thunder Wave and then also the Trick Room being in effect. It was a little bit awkward for him to try and go for that Geomancy, but he probably would have needed that damage to do something against his opponent's primal Pokemon. And yeah, going into the second game, I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw Smeargle make an appearance, since that is something that their teams have like different. And yeah, depending on what type of moveset he runs, what item, there once again we do have Ying's team. Yeah, there is a chance that he could try and put everything on Michael's team to sleep while that Trick Room is up, and then maybe make something work after that.
Yeah, so I've watched further videos from Ying, and I saw him using Gravity on his Bronzong in Trick Room, just to be sure that Dark White hits both opponents for sure.
Yes, that is of course a very very strong engine, also with Groudon having those ground type attacks.
Exactly. And going back to game 1, so we saw these scary Levitate Groudon, but then Michael's Kyogre was the key for his victory in game 1, so I expect him to definitely pick Kyogre back in game 2.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And let's talk about what Ying have to adapt in game 2. You talked about Smeargle. I'm pretty sure he won't pick Xerneas again.
Okay.
Or if he picks Xerneas, he has to Geomancy as soon as possible.
Yes, he could try and use it a little bit more aggressively with, say, a Smeargle and Xerneas lead. But we will say what he figured out now in the meantime, thinking about this. And he goes for Salamence and Xerneas. So yeah, I think this team matchup, or this lead matchup rather, probably is a little bit better for Michael, since he does have the Thunderous that can go for the Thunder Waves. But Ying is now in a more offensive position, having Xerneas rather than the Cresselia in front, which can go for those Icy Winds, but as we saw, it kind of also backfired to him a little bit, as he went for that Icy Wind on the Thunderous, but then later, while Trick Room was still up, Thunderous was able to hit first and stuff like that. So yeah, he might want to try and sort out his speedsters a little bit more carefully, and then potentially just try and grab a quick KO on the Thunderous. Yeah, he doesn't even need to go for the Geomancy potentially, but yeah, even if he like got up that Geomancy and then with that special defense boost, he would probably be able to take attacks from both those Pokemon.
Exactly. So Thunderous is a big part in Michael's team, and as you said, I think Ying has to take care of this Thunders as soon as possible, so he has no
Yes.
problems in the late game. And we see the switch in from Groudon.
Yeah, of course he wants to put on more offensive pressure against Ying's Xerneas. Yeah, Michael's Salamence was intimidated by his opponent's Salamence, so yeah, now switching in Groudon, if it is a physical variant, with that Fire Punch can do a lot of damage. And yeah, potentially, or most likely, a Thunder Wave coming out from him right here. Let's see who he targeted though. And no Mega Evolution coming out from that Salamence.
That might be the reason to Tailwind in this turn.
Yes, and there it is, the Tailwind. Yeah, once again, wants to keep that Intimidate ability, and now if he goes for the Tailwind as well as the Geomancy, but he doesn't do that. He could have cancelled out the speed reduction that came out from the Thunder Wave, and yeah, gets a critical hit here though with the Dazzling Gleam, and not entirely sure how much I like this position from Ying now. He was able to set up the Tailwind, but yeah, once again, with his Xerneas being paralyzed, it's probably like still definitely being outsped by both of his opponent's Pokemon. So the only thing that really benefits from the Tailwind at the moment is his own Salamence, but it might also be the case that he was already planning for later turns and tries to set up his own Groudon.
That might be the case, but I'm really... so you mentioned Geomancy and Tailwind, and this would be just equalize the speed drop. And he would be faster than Groudon anyway, and he can't be paralyzed again, so he will be at least faster than probably this bulky Thundurus.
Yes.
So I don't think he gained a lot from this turn.
Yeah, me neither. He was probably anticipating his opponent not to switch out into the Groudon and was expecting a double edge coming into the Xerneas and wanted to yeah, take a quick KO. Might have also anticipated the Thunder Wave going into the Salamence instead, but yeah, how things go. Yeah, Michael doesn't stop. He just launches another Thunder Wave into the Cresselia and sets up the Sword Dance with his Groudon. Wow.
Wow, so this Groudon is really, really a huge threat right now. With this T-Wave breathed, I think Ying has to set up Trick Room right now.
Yeah, he has to do something certainly, since now, yeah, if Michael can hit that Fire Punch, for example, or Precipice Blades, he can do so much damage to his opponent's team. And I think, yeah, Michael just played a very, very strong game here. Was able to bring in that Groudon, and Ying did not go for the Geomancy. Potentially also fearing a taunt maybe from the Thundurus the first turn?
That might be the case, yeah. So Michael brought himself in a position where he doesn't have to make the huge predictions right now. He can just play from his safe position.
Yes.
And +2 Fire Punches probably knock out the Cresselia.
Yeah, he can probably just go for, say, Hyper Voice and Fire Punch on the Cresselia to make sure that it will faint after this turn. So there's no Trick Room coming up, no setup from his opponent. Though Ying still does have the Tailwind, so maybe Michael wants to take a step back here and try to stall that out, or maybe even match the Tailwind by setting up his own before he starts KOing his opponent's paralyzed Pokemon. Because, yeah, that's like the only threat that is left for Michael's Groudon is potentially Ying's Groudon under Tailwind. But, yeah, so just, I don't know, maneuvering around a little bit more. He doesn't have to grab the KOs, but he can also just, yeah, stall out the Tailwind with a set of Protects. But, yeah, let's see what the players opt to go for here.
Ying's option to not Mega Evolve the Salamence in turn 1 is probably paid out now, where he can bring down Groudon to +1 only, where he's not able to take out this Cresselia. Only in combination with Salamence, but Salamence also intimidated right now.
Yeah, so let's see. We do see that Hyper Voice that we were expecting, kind of, but I don't think Fire Punch will be quite enough to knock out that Cresselia. There it comes, and it'll be close, but with a critical hit, Cresselia goes down, and I think that will be the one piece that Michael just needed. That was the one thing Ying had left to try and potentially get some more speed control going, potentially set up that Trick Room, and then contest the Groudon of his opponent in Trick Room with his own Groudon. But now that option is also gone thanks to that critical hit. So yeah, Michael in a fantastic position right now.
Fantastic. So he probably just have to stall out the Tailwind.
Yes, certainly.
And then Ying has only his paralyzed Xerneas and paralyzed Cresselia. No, sorry.
And the Groudon in the back, potentially.
So Michael still have to put his own speed control here.
Yeah, if Michael runs, say, his own Tailwind, that would be something he could do. And then, of course, we probably cannot expect his opponent's Salamence to have Draco Meteor, which would be something that could still play in a factor if he, say, goes for the Draco Meteor and a Salamence, but that is not the case. So, yeah, Michael probably knows that he will most likely make it into his first regional finals, if I'm not mistaken here. So, but maybe Ying will still try to do something. He probably, I don't know, with that critical hit, but yeah, that is still not enough. And yeah, Michael knows that even though his opponent still has got that Tailwind up, Hyper Voice and Fire Punch should be enough to KO both of his opponent's Pokemon here.
Yeah, and having Tailwind excludes having Draco Meteor, so Ying...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Ying could not KO these elements, and Hyper Voice and Fire Punch was enough to kill both of his Pokemon, so Michael probably won this game right now.
Yeah, certainly. He played really well, put his ground in a position. His opponent awkwardly tried to maneuver around once again. At first he tried to go for the Tailwind, did not commit though with the Geomancy that I would have liked to see, and then I think it's a much closer game had we seen that Geomancy, because then the Xerneas would have still been able to outspeed both that Thundurus and the Groudon of his opponent. But yeah, we did not see that, and Michael, yeah, just wins the second game in a commanding fashion and will move on to the final. Wow.
Yeah, so I'm surprised that Ying chooses his Tailwind option against the Thundurus, who can just spread T-Waves. So probably this cost him the game not to go for Trick Room from the beginning of the match.
Yeah, or maybe he could have also, as we mentioned, tried to go for that hardcore Xerneas setup with Smeargle and Xerneas lead potentially. Depending on what moves his Smeargle has, I mean, it also, like, for example, a Crafty Shield could have helped him, or White Guard, or Fake Out. But yeah, we did not see that Smeargle make an appearance here. Eruption won't do any damage since Michael wisely also switched in his Kyogre. Yeah, he just does not give Ying any more chances here in this match. And yeah, what a good performance here by Michael.
Great. So, yeah.
He just forfeits, and that's it. Wow. Congratulations to Michael, who will move on to the final here at the regionals in Braunschweig. And Ying, with his top 4 finish, might still have enough championship points to make it to the Pokemon World Championship this August in San Francisco. So congratulations to him as well. It seems like both players are, yeah, pretty much, I don't know, they are fine with how the match went. Michael, yeah, having potentially the matchup advantage here, and also playing better and deserving victory here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he will perform in the finals.
Yeah, and both going in top 4. I mean, they came here with a mission.
Yes.
They wanted to top cut. They both top cutted, actually. And now Michael is going into finals, and Ying finishing 3rd or probably 4th.
Yeah.
So that's a great result.
Definitely. Both of them needed this result to make it to day 2 of the World Championship, and they were able to make it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those finals. But yeah, I guess that's it for now. See you soon, and we will be back for the